Philippe Amani.
And I'm Osric Chow.
We are so excited that we are later tonight going to be your co-hosts for the Games for Change Awards. I'm really excited.
I'm very excited. I put on pants for this, and tonight I'm going to put on something else.
Oh, that sounded probably not the way you intended it.
Sure, because it's really cold here.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. It's very cold. But we are excited. We are going to make an exciting transformation. But in the meantime, we wanted to introduce this wonderful panel of friends.
You got to get closer.
You got to get closer?
You got a little bit.
Okay, thank you. So, what happens? What if play itself could be an engine of liberation? In this fireside conversation, acclaimed actor, director, and futurist Ahmed Best, Afrofuturist game designer Dr. Lonny Brooks, and neuroscientist Dr. Sará King explore how games and embodied practice carry ancestral intelligence, beloved community, and collective healing into the worlds we are building.
And together with moderator Olebe, Game for Change's board chair, they ask how heart-designed play becomes an infrastructure of care for more liberated futures. Let's welcome them to the stage.
Hip-hop, can you hear me? And we like hip-hop? Okay, yes, let's go. It's great to see everybody. Welcome, please welcome to our panelists. Excited to have this conversation, and it's something that I think we're all deeply passionate about. We're actually gonna start off with like just a quick, I know we had some intros, maybe a quick round of intros. Say, I'm Leo, chair of the Games for Change board. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves really quickly?
Sure. My name is Ahmed Best. I am an actor, writer, director, futurist, Jedi. I am a professor at the USC School of Dramatic Arts, senior fellow at the USC School of the Annenberg School of Journalism and Communications, as well as a guest professor at the D School at Stanford University. And I am co-founder of the AfroRithm Futures Group.
Yes.
Welcome.
I love that. I'm Lonny Brooks. I'm a professor and chair of communication at Cal State East Bay, and affiliate researcher with the Institute for the Future, and a research fellow with the Long Now Foundation, and the proud co-founder not only of the AfroRithm Futures Group, but of the Community Future School at the Museum of Children's Arts, where we teach kids how to think intentionally about the future and reimagine Oakland for 2045. And we use the AfroRhythms from the Future game as a prototype to do that. Yeah.
And so much more. Hi, everyone. Grateful to be here. I'm Sará King. I'm a neuroscientist and a medical anthropologist and educator. I'm also the CEO of MindHeart AI. We call ourselves a liberatory technology company because we believe that that's the primary purpose that technology can serve. And I'm very passionate about the idea that it is possible to map collective human consciousness, but specifically to map the ways that collective well-being and intergenerational healing can spread through these mapping projects. And I believe that video games are one of the primary ways that we can actually achieve this.
Amazing. Well, you started on the perfect place. Like I love this topic, and y'all are so deeply passionate about this, and your work is absolutely incredible. You guys maybe want to like talk about your why. I think it's such a good place to start. You know, when we're thinking about okay, how can technology help shape the future around us? Like, what's your why? And maybe talk a little bit about why you're so passionate about this topic.
Yeah, I'll go first. So I grew up here. I'm from the South Bronx, New York City. I'm from a section of the South Bronx called Soundview, which is like the birth, NYC, baby. BX, the BX. I don't know why people from New York, we always have to do that. Every time there's other people in New York, you know what I'm saying? Shout out your zip code, 10473, you know what I'm saying? BX, baby. But I grew up like a really nerdy kid in the South Bronx, and my head was always in movies and comic books and in video games. And when you grow up in those type of circumstances, you look for ways and things to elevate you out of there. And my imagination in those worlds was the way. And because I loved it so much, it really helped me as a professional artist when I moved into theater and then eventually into film and eventually television. It was so formative in giving me this ability to imagine. And I started my film career in the Star Wars prequels. So working with George Lucas, I realized that this was a job. Like, you can actually do this, and you can create worlds and create games. Because, you know, George, when in the movies that I was in, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith, there were all of these other offshoots, right? It wasn't just the movies. It was learning games. It was like video games. It was all of these ways that you can interact with these universes and these worlds, and they all were liberation games. And Star Wars was inherently political. You know, it was George's idea of how the world could go, should go. And so I realized all of these things while working there, that you could actually craft a profession, a job, and not only that, a passion of a creativity of world building and imagining these things throughout all of these mediums. And that's why I became so passionate about it. Growing up in the South Bronx, they don't tell you that that's a job.
Yeah.
You know, everybody tells you, like, if you're athletic, you're gonna be an athlete. Or, you know, if you're Black and you have some semblance of intelligence, you have to represent the entire race in the entire neighborhood, right? So it was like doctor, lawyer, you know, my
Respectable jobs.
exactly. And my family's from the Caribbean. So it's just like, you're gonna be a doctor or you're gonna be an engineer. And I was just like, I kind of want to jump around on stage, you know? But because of these things, and because of that formative experience, I realized that I could turn this passion and into something that is quite liberating, and then find family that we can do it with.
Wonderful. Dr. Brooks.
I want to say, you know, we talk about for every algorithm of oppression, there's an AfroRithm of liberation, and I've lived that in various ways too, because I have various physical disabilities. I grew up partially blind. I have an artificial heart valve. I have type 1 diabetes with a patch on my arm, so I'm augmented. But through Star Trek, you know, in the early 70s, like, I imagined more for myself, and that gave me tremendous hope in terms of actually seeing people that look like me on screen, like Lieutenant Uhura or Lieutenant Forge in Next Generation. You know, I have an eclectic mix and background of, you know, Jewish Ukrainian on one side and Black, Mexican, and Spanish on the other. And all this comes together to fuel my passion for bringing people together and to go against, you know, the oppressiveness of white supremacy, to be honest. And how do we get there? So, you know, you take Afro and you take rhythm and you put them together and you create an AfroRithm, and really thinking about how, you know, ancestral intelligence, what we call the real AI, and how do we build mothership AI, inspires me daily to wake up and say, let's look back and recover the stories that have been suppressed, that I keep finding out about in my own family, and bring them to life. And then infuse and direct and have agency with AI through gaming. And do that. And let's build the mothership AI and do that. Let's have agency over how we shape the future. So it inspired me to create the game with Ahmed and to really bring that forward. And we'll get to the game later, but actually that's what inspires me. And to kind of go beyond, like everyone said, you know, you can't do this because you can't see, or, you know, it's too dangerous to travel abroad or something like that. And I'm like, well, I want to do that. I want to do all these things. And I did them, you know? So I've been able to live a life that goes beyond my cards that I was dealt, right? And gaming and imagining more for myself through science fiction was the way out for me. And that's why through the Institute for the Future, I realized, similar to Ahmed, that actually, oh, people get paid for being futurists? I want to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's that's what inspires me to reimagine the world on a daily basis.
Wonderful. Thank you. Dr. King.
Yeah, I was really touched by what Constance was sharing about her work with incarcerated populations, and I rarely get to speak about it. But growing up, my older brother Yeshaya was my idol, and he was incarcerated for most of my life. And I remember visiting him in solitary confinement. Which, as most of you probably know, but they lock you in a very small, dark room where you are like stripped of all of your social connections and relationships, and it really is, in my opinion, a form of torture. And so this was when I was 6 years old, and I remember that when my brother came out of solitary confinement, he was a completely different person. And I didn't have a word for it at the time, but as I grew as a scientist, I came to understand that he was experiencing trauma. But this trauma was not an individual phenomenon. It was interpersonal, it was systemic, and it was intergenerational. Because the story of his incarceration was very much related to the institutional racism that he had experienced as a very young child, that led him to feel like he didn't have any opportunities other than to be a blood in Compton. And so I became very passionate about what does it mean to actually study the way that trauma shows up in our nervous systems. But I have a theory, actually, that I'm testing out, that to speak about neuroscience as the study of individual nervous systems that are alone and isolated, us as individuals, is not the full picture. I actually have a term in my research that I call the collective nervous system. So when two or more people get together, because we have social brains, every single one of us at this conference creates a collective nervous system, and we are sharing and transmitting so much information between us that is oftentimes very invisible, right? But we know how to pick up on it, similar to the way that Constance was talking about theory of mind, right? Somehow embedded in our nervous systems is this ability to really pick up on our internal states and to pick up on so much about what we're carrying inside of us that is actually deeply ancestral. It is not necessarily related to just what's happening in this moment in time.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's show the slide.
And so really briefly, I have created a map of human awareness that is called the Systems-Based Awareness Map. This is literally a map of the self as relates to everything that can possibly exist around us. And so I usually give like 90-minute lectures on this, so I'm gonna have to like really seriously condense this. But it is really starting from this place of the idea that awareness and consciousness is like a substrate from which all of our experience of self is emerging from. And we can map our memories, emotions, feelings, sensations, and thoughts. We can map our relationship to our ancestors and our environment. We can map the physiological dimension of our being, right, as individuals. And then we can show deeply how that's correlated to everything that's happening in our environment, all of our relationships, everything within the culture that surrounds us, and the environment. So it's mapping the individual onto the collective. And I'm going to show you guys a little bit about the ways in which I'm actually creating this into an interactive map of human awareness, and my hope is, in the conversations that I'm having with various gaming companies, that video games will actually provide a digital mechanism of a way for us to start to map out through all of the language and all of the images and all of the environments that are represented, how collective consciousness is emerging and transforming and changing in real time as relates to the games that we play.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Like, wow. I'm blown away by all of the.
You didn't know we were going to say this.
I didn't know. I was like, what's happening right now? My brain.
Like, what is the engine of liberation?
We're going all the way there.
Going in.
So we're gonna go even further down the rabbit hole a little bit. But I mean, y'all are saying so much, and it's this idea. I talk a lot about this concept of bringing people in, and about the importance of community and about belonging and togetherness. And so kind of, Dr. King, like what you're just describing about how we all kind of share this collective emotional state and connectivity as a group. It's what makes events like this so special. You know, it's like we're here and there's an energy in the room and there's something about the conversations that are happening that are absolutely magical. And part of it is about the connection that y'all are describing and talking about. And I so much appreciate this idea of thinking about the future, understanding the past to think about the future. And listen, I'm no expert here at all, and you guys are the panelists, but this just brings me to the idea of there's a lot going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
There's so many things happening that are challenging, that are hard, that make us probably do things that we never thought we needed to do, become people we never thought we needed to be. But at the same time, maybe because of this collective intelligence and awareness, I get this sense that there is hope and there is positive things to think about as we go forward. So the question then is, how do you maintain your sense of positivity and the potential of the future state as we're going through these tough times? Because I think all of you are thinking about the past and you're thinking deeply about the future. I believe it comes from a place of positivity and light. But what drives you to keep going and to bring more of you to the stage?
Yeah, well, you know, when we play AfroRhythms from the future, Lonny and I, we talk about time in a way where the past we have a reverence for. We have an awareness of the present, but the future is all creative.
Yes.
And what we try to do with the game, and we've played thousands of games with myriads of people from 6-year-olds to like, you know, Google VPs and CEOs. And every time we play the game, what we realize is the worlds and the universes that we create through the game are all communal, and the worlds and the universes that we play are all optimistic. So we double down on, and what we teach an optimistic future, because in that way of creativity, you can create the future in which you wanna belong to, right? We all have agency over our future. And we always like to say, no one gets to future all over you, right? You get to decide what future you want to be in. The thing that we don't do when we talk about the future is we imagine what the future looks like and we imagine what the future has in it, because we are all very product and project based because of the situations that we're living. But we don't know how that feels, right? We don't usually imagine what the future feels like, right? Everybody always talks about the Jetsons and the flying car, but that's kind of terrifying if you think about it, right? And you might be afraid of heights. And now all of a sudden everybody's like, get in the flying car. Like, what if you don't want it?
Car.
You know, if you remember the Jetsons,
Okay, I kind of want
the Jetsons, we never saw the ground. Everybody was always up there, right? And it's because, you know, there's a theory about the Flintstones and the Jetsons. I don't know if you guys know about it. But
that's like a whole nother panel.
yeah, it's a whole nother. We'll go into the theory of the Flintstones and the Jetsons at another time. But what we teach in the game is like, there are ways to feel the future. And you get to create what the future that you want to live in feels like. In the thousands of games that we've played, in the thousands of universes that we've built, in the thousands of worlds that we built, no one has built an incarceration world. No one. No one has built the corporate world. No one.
Say less.
In every situation, even in the corporate games, the thing that everybody wants when we build this game, right? Egalitarianism. Everybody wants to be equal. We realize that the constructs that we live in are constructs that we've created, and we can create our way out of them. We realize poverty does not need to exist. It is a man-made construct that we've created that we live in. And every time we play this game, after the game, we stop everybody and we go, do you realize what we just did? We just created a present we can live in today. that has none of the things that are holding us back. So that's what gives me hope. Because regardless of the group of people, regardless of where we play, regardless of who we play with, everyone plays the game with a sense of optimism and a sense of hope. Everyone.
I love it.
Yeah.
Dr. Brooks.
Yeah. Seriously, playing this game, especially with high school students and students at Stanford University, they get into it. They're building whole worlds based on like a world of what does a world look like with more Black storytelling and less white supremacy, and create artifacts from the future that make that come alive. And for me, that seems like the building blocks of the type of ancestral intelligence we want to have to create an ethical stack for the mothership of witnessing and remembering and recovering our stories that have been erased by colonialism and bring them back. Stories that we didn't know about, that talk about other peoples that have had visions of the future too. And I think that's so important. So the game actually, for me, helps me to imagine the art, the aesthetics, the design of what a world looks like when you have immense agency and power over things of like AI, which I just think of ancestral intelligence. I don't think of the world of artificial intelligence anymore. I think of how it is through the channels of my existence, my embodiment of what that means through our game, AfroRithm in the Future. So, yeah.
Dr. King shared a very personal and compelling story, and you still have hope. What gives you hope? How do I know you're inspired. We're all inspired by the work that you do, but like, what makes you so hopeful and positive for the future?
Well, I'm very lucky to be sitting up here with two extraordinary friends and brothers of mine, and the word kin has come up quite often at this conference, and I think that friendship and kinship are two of the most important forces of healing, collective healing and collective well-being support that we have built into the function of our brains and of our bodies. And as I've been fortunate enough to present and be a part of spaces where the AfroRhythms game is being played, I have witnessed healing and transformation and the melting away of divisions and preconceived notions in real time that this game produces. And so, I have a lot of hope. Actually, I have a video that I want to show about the interactive version of the systems-based awareness map that I'm creating.
Yes.
I have a lot of hope for, I think, what that might be able to create, especially in partnership with people who are creating powerful games like Lonny and Ahmed. If we can bring that up.
Roll the tape.
Possibly. Well, let's see, fingers crossed. Okay, wonderful. So it's called the SBAM Explorer, and the map literally learns from you as you share storytelling with it, right? So it's storytelling, but it can also pick up on biometric activity. You can select a layer, and then you can share a story with it, as you see being typed on the screen behind us. So many people in this world are experiencing stressful situations. They want to share about it. They want it to be reflected back to them, and they also want advice for how to hold that, right? How it is that they can really engender transformation and healing. And so this is a little bit of an example of how you can do that, but you can also play with the map in a very artistic way, so you can create representations of your own consciousness as you're experiencing it in any given moment. You can create representations of, okay, what is feeling stressful to me in this moment, and then actually be given advice for practices that you can do in order to support you with your healing, or you can connect it with another person who you are playing with, and then you can actually share what's in your awareness, what's in their consciousness, and create and show a field of co-regulation together, like what it looks like to actually sync up with another person's consciousness and storytelling in real time. So I'm very, very hopeful, and I'm talking to a number of different companies right now that an immersive 3D experience of this could potentially be offered inside of gaming spaces.
Amazing.
So that people can actually witness what it looks like to create collective consciousness inside of a gaming environment.
That's great. That's great. Wonderful. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I love it. And actually, that's the perfect segue to the next kind of thing I was thinking about, and I did not prepare y'all for, but which is really like, what can we do?
Yeah.
How can we participate? Like, what is the call to action for this esteemed group of people out here, right? Like, how to, and also my favorite question, which is, how can we help?
Yeah, well, I mean, you all have more power than you're told you have, right? Sometimes we're kind of all lumped into this thing called the audience. And honestly, in every industry that I'm in, the audience really dictates what we can make. So it really is about making our collective consciousness, our collective nervous systems heard, and letting each other know that this is what we want, not only out of ourselves, but out of what we interact with, right? We're at a time right now where we're, I think, coming out of, almost a dark age of technology, right? We're moving into now this place of community. We have no choice right now to move out of this area that we're in, right? Because we have a small amount of people trying to dictate to us what they believe that we want. And historically, that never works, right? You can only oppress a people, but for so long. And then the people rise up, right? And right now, we're in the people are rising up phase. So it really is about those of us who are coming out of this thing, looking for something else, looking for the optimism to be able to find each other and connect with one another.
Wonderful.
Gaming is a really, really good way to do it, because not only are we going through these stories and ideas, but we're all collectively working together towards something. So I was the performance director for a game called South of Midnight.
BAFTA award-winning.
Heard of it? Yes, BAFTA
award-winning.
South of Midnight. And the thing that is quite surprising to me, that game is all about healing trauma. Hazel, who was our lead, goes through all of these worlds and all of these characters to A, find her mother community, and B, when she realizes these powers that she has and she comes up against these monsters, she realizes that these monsters are just trapped in their trauma. And so her job in the entire game is to weave this trauma out of these people, right? Yep. And bring them back to themselves. It is overwhelming to me how many people identify with that. And we are told that, AAA games, you have to have guns and you have to go out and shoot people and you have to have as many kills as possible, and you all get the headset together and you play war. That's not necessarily the case.
No.
And you can have both of those ideas at once. Right now, what we're being told is AAA means war, right? AAA means destruction. AAA means like the lowest common denominator of player. We can change that. We can change that, but we also have to create the systems, and this is what we do with AfroRithyms. We help you reimagine systems, right? And recognize that these systems that we are locked in, we don't have to be locked in, we can change. So
I love it.
Connect with us, connect with one another. We can change this thing. We all have agency over our future. We can do it. We've created this game to do it, as a tool to do it.
I love it. Dr. Brooks.
Yeah, to expand on that, Ahmed and I are actually writing a book called Be the Signal that talks and speaks about how marginalized communities have constantly been on the edge of innovation, and that's gone under the radar. But we have a toolkit to give to everyone on how we can be the signal of the future going forward. And I think that gives me optimism about the future of what we can imagine and reimagine. Like we always talk about, how can we get to the Star Trek universe more quickly than we're doing at the moment?
Wonderful. Dr. King?
Yeah, I would say that I believe very passionately that video games partially because of their extraordinary artistic value, their value in creating and engendering so much neuroplasticity, so much healing, and also because of the incredible musical scores, really should be supported through greater public health and funding in medicine and education. There's so many different funding streams that the gaming industry at large deserves to be supported by. And so I think that all of you as an audience have the capacity to actually stand up for that and request that with your local politicians, in your community groups, because I do believe that video games can be medicine. They can be support for collective healing. And we have all of the technology that we need at our behest to actually map that out in real time and prove that that is the case.
100%, and we couldn't possibly be at a better place than Games for Change to be having this conversation, which is fabulous. And as a Star Wars nerd, I must say, I've always wanted to say, in my thank you to the panelists, we have 2 doctors and a Sith Lord on stage with us today. That played Jar Jar Binks in episodes 1, 2, and 3, and also known as the Sith Lord. But we appreciate you so much, and I think you painted such a positive vision of the future, and it really have empowered everybody in this room that you can be the change that you want to see. And
That's right.
That's an extraordinarily important and incredible message. So huge thank you to our panelists, Ahmed, Lonny, and Sará. Thank you, and we love the work that you do, and please keep going.
Thank you, Leo.